Hello everyone and welcome to my place on the internet, where I am your host, Peter, aka the MuttonChopGuy, where I jump into the sprawling world of manga to talk about a niche genre within it, known as Komi, or Bara, because these are the terms that we use.
I am so ready.
Yes, I have finally returned from my hiatus. If you have not seen my community post, go check it out. It pretty much explained what happened and what I had to deal with. It's been kind of a crazy couple months for me, just trying to get everything settled. But my husband got new employment, we have new housing, we're in a new state, we had to travel across country for this job, so we did that again. I know for some people who don't know the lore is that yes, I have traveled from one end of the country to the other and then had to travel back. That's pretty much what happened. So I am back in a very familiar area for myself in my home state. I'm really actually excited to be back here because now I am reunited with my oldest long-standing best friend who I haven't seen in like 10 years. Been really great.
Congratulations! Whee!
That's all been kind of settled right now. There's still a few things that might have some changes happening for me in my personal life that will affect my schedule for things like in my server. If you're not part of my server, I usually on like Friday nights for me, I'm watching anime with everybody, and on Mondays I'm usually playing some game that's relatively in line with my channel, so that way I can actually do like reviews on them, and I find it a lot more fun to hang out with people on my server and play those games, so that way then we can go on to do a review with them. But yes, the last thing before we get into this video is I did have a video that I released in February because I was pretty much halfway through before everything started falling apart, that I managed to get done and release, only for it to get taken down. And I decided that I was going to take that video off, redo the edits and make it even more in line with TOS to put it back up, and they hit me with a strike and took it down again. So I'm going to make an appeal on it. I'm just waiting for the strike to fall off before I make the appeal, because I do not want to make the appeal, it gets put back up and then get hit with another strike. I just don't want to risk it. I already have one strike and that's already too much for me as it is. So we're going to wait till that falls off before I make the appeal, and then I'm hoping that that video comes back up. But yes, we are going to continue on with the rest of the stuff since now I'm in a better position to do so. Now, let's get right into things. I have a very interesting manga that I want to cover here because it's technically 3 one-shots put together in one. And it's made by a doujin group. At least I think this is the name of the doujin group, I'm not entirely sure, but this is the name that is put on for the author, and it is a trilogy that is made by Takaku Nozomu. God, I hope I said that name right. If I said it wrong, you guys have the ability to mock me in the comment section. It at least lets me know when I mess up.
Get your shit together!
But yes, this is a triple one-shot type manga series that it's kind of funny how the names don't really tie them together, but it's just how it is. And the first installment is Drive That Man into a Frenzy. Second installment is Everyone is Doing It. And the third installment is The Kid Returns. I wonder what we're going to be getting into. Let's find out together. So without further ado, let's jump in. We open to a subway station because we're in Japan, so of course we're at the train station, as most of Japanese life is taking place on a train, just like in New York.
Well, that's kind of a broad statement.
It's true.
We meet our first major player, Daiki, who is dreading every second of his commute on the train. If you've never seen how the traffic on the subway system is in Japan before, you're going to see why it has notoriety in pop culture. So the train arrives and the floodgates open to have the whole station pour into the small metal tube, slamming Daiki into the door on the other side. This being his typical experience with the subway transit, he was ready to resign to his fate when he discovered he wasn't being crushed anymore. He turns around to see our second but more important character, the muscle mountain himself, Koyama, holding his arm out to make space for Daiki.
Look at him, look at him. I'd murder for you.
Daiki remarks on Koyama's build when he's briefly pressed against the door again, but Koyama manages to protect Daiki from being crushed. Daiki wonders if he can get this guy to protect him from now on, since they use the same train and get off at different stops near each other. But then gets pressed again and has his hands make their way under Koyama's shirt, pinning them that way? How did he get his hands there so easily? Is his shirt silk or something?
Don't ask questions.
While stuck in this position, Daiki notes the details of Koyama's chest when he realizes what he was doing and considers himself being perverted. He then notices that Koyama's heartbeat was fast while his face was flushed, giving him the idea to test the waters with Koyama by lightly teasing him under his shirt. Koyama naturally reacts to his new sensation, and Daiki marvels at the manly sounds his protector is making. Then he knows he really likes it with the new reaction pressing into his stomach, and his desire to do more with him swells. So what does Daiki do since his hands are stuck under Koyama's shirt? He uses his elbow to grip Koyama's tip and tease him even more until he reached his climactic peak.
What? What the fuck?
Why did you do this? You are on a train. There are other people pressed up against you and you're diddling your protector with your elbows.
What is wrong with you?
They reach the next stop and Koyama then runs off as fast as he could to his destination, leaving Daiki feeling remorseful for what he did and chases after him to apologize. Yeah, you better go apologize to him. Daiki follows him until he loses sight of him and ends up at a dojo. He enters to see that it's vacant until he hears the door close, where Daiki finds him in the locker room, changing out of his spoiled underwear. So he makes his presence known to Koyama and apologizes for getting carried away. Koyama tries to play it off as nothing when Daiki explains how he admires his stature, wishing that he was able to achieve the same physique as him. Koyama explains how he feels the same way about his physique, sharing their gripes about their respective shortcomings, but Daiki points to this insecurity as to why he did what he did. Really? That is why you did that? I mean, I totally relate to wanting that body stature, but I wouldn't go as far as wanting to violate someone on a train to express my desires for such things. Okay, I'm spending way too much time mulling over this, so let's move on.
Okay.
So Daiki makes the request of Koyama to let him touch his body more, for he only wishes to admire his physique. After some contemplation, he agrees with some stipulations, which are the obvious ones when one imposes them. They then proceed with a bit of body worship, Daiki admiring the details of Koyama's muscles, noting every curve and contour as he went from arms to legs. He decides to reach around him to feel his back along with his overall size before he reached for Koyama's pectorals, marveling on how his muscles are in both relaxed and flexed states. Daiki moves behind Koyama to view him from another angle, making his way to face Koyama, examining his jaw and facial hair as that is another feature that separates them. Once Daiki gets to Koyama's lips, he kisses him, and this resulted in Koyama being roused by this treatment. So Daiki gives Koyama the look that is kryptonite to him, and they proceed to take care of business while Daiki finishes his admiring examination, ending with a big finish. Then afterwards they go to take a shower together, just so Daiki can finish his inspection of Koyama? Okay. This, of course, leads to another session in the shower, being more intense than the previous one that made Koyama go into a frenzy of pleasure, just like the title says. And afterwards, they come to realize that they haven't even introduced themselves to each other. What? Just because you ended off with this cute snapshot doesn't mean I'm going to forget this. Nice try.
Stop it. Get some help.
In the next installment, we see Koyama training at his dojo, failing to compete with his sparring partner. He monologues about the past few months were spent with Daiki, trying out new things each time to explore more of what they each were curious about. But it was mostly just Daiki wanting to sample different kinks with Koyama and convincing him with his kryptonite look. However, Daiki had to move away with his parents to Hokkaido for their business, leaving Koyama alone with no outlet for himself to indulge in. After everyone left the dojo, Koyama goes into the shower in the attempt to satisfy himself since Daiki is gone. Just as he was finishing up, He hears someone calling into the dojo, and goes to see that it was his old friend who used to tend this dojo, Nakayama. He works for a construction company who just so happens to have a contract in town, and he decided to stop by to see if Koyama was still attending here, with the hopes that he wanted to go out for drinks. Koyama agrees, and they both head back to Koyama's place with a couple of 6-packs of beer for a night of laughs and stories to catch up. When they get there, Koyama offers Nakayama his shower since it was hot that day, and he takes up the offer. Discovering that he didn't have any unused underwear to give him, Koyama hands him a pair that Daiki bought him but never wore, not even taking it out of the bag that it was in. After prepping the dinner for the evening, Nakayama exits the bathroom to show Koyama the underwear he left for him to use, finding out what Daiki wanted him to wear after all.
Oh shit!
Lessons for everyone watching: always check the underwear you're going to lend to friends.
Right, yeah, got it.
So the night rolls on with the two of them drinking and catching up with each other. We learn that Nakayama is divorced now since his ex-wife was only staying with him as long as she did out of courtesy. I guess she didn't like that he was letting himself go with his weight. Seems a bit petty, but sure, I guess. He remarks that he's happy to have the single life once more, but does feel the loneliness from time to time again as well. The beer runs out and Koyama decides that he'll go do another beer run while Nakayama stays behind. He returns to see that his friends passed out from waiting and sees something that causes his stirrings to surface. He impulsively gets closer and slowly starts to ravage himself over the potential of indulging himself, just to have Nakayama say that he wants him to do it too, and we get an interesting night of romping with his senpai.
Wow.
Over the next few weeks, Koyama had Nakayama stopping by more frequently so they could spend more nights like this, making him feel like his life was going in a new direction since Daiki left. That was until one day, Koyama receives a text, discovering a certain someone making their return.
Plot thickens.
So in the final installment, we begin with seeing our three main players in the same room, staring each other down. Koyama watching on as this troubled situation unfolds with two rivals fighting for his kinship. And I say kinship because it seems a bit too much to call it a steady relationship, or even a lover's relationship. Either way, this is a wacky situation to be in at all, with no clear way out. So Nakayama discusses things with Daiki over what is to happen with Koyama going forward, essentially challenging him for Koyama, saying that he can't take care of him the way he needs to be, and proceeds to defile him in front of Daiki. While that is happening, Koyama goes into a frenzy like we've seen him in previous installments, but this time he feels a bit more extra with Daiki watching. So we get a whole sequence where Nakayama gives a whole show to Daiki, with him watching on unable to stop it. Koyama passes out after the whole ordeal to see that they both left him alone. For the rest of the season, Nakayama stopped showing up and eventually moved on to another town for work, while Daiki returned to Hokkaido after his vacation time was up. So Koyama went on with his work, returning to his normal state with no further urges that Daiki awakened in him. It wasn't until springtime that Koyama was walking down the street when he encountered Daiki again. Daiki confesses that he thought a lot about everything that took place that night, and coming to the realization that he never got Koyama to make that pleased expression because he was spending too much of his focus on what he wanted to do and not thinking about what Koyama felt about any of it. He then explains how he spent all that time frustrated about his selfish tendencies, that he wanted to correct his mistakes with Koyama after he graduates high school in this spring. Wait, he's in high school?
No! No, no! No! No!
And the story ends with Daiki asking Koyama if he would go out with him on a date, and as he waited patiently for Koyama's response, which if you look closely at the bottom right hand corner you'll find his answer. And that's it. That's the whole story.
That can't be it. Where's the rest of it?
Okay, so this story is a wild one to say the least. It gives you a sitcom style plotline that they stretched over 3 installments that you can consider as episodes. Which, hey, if it works out for the story you want to tell, then more power to you, I guess. However, this is one of those stories that really doesn't have some deep, profound thing it wanted to tell, so you just need to keep that in mind. It's basically a guy meets another guy in a situation, it escalates, they work it out afterwards, then life happens to separate them, another person shows up and develops another situation, then have both situations collide into a mess of a situation, leaving one person in the dark after everything is said and done, just to have one of the people return and try to start a new situation again. There is room for character development with our main characters, but did this story really delve into that? I don't really think so, but that may not be what the author was trying to do in the first place. Though, viewers of this channel know I like to touch on the possibilities that any writer can take with something like this. Most of what could have happened to develop these characters happened in summary, but it has enough bones for us to add the muscles for each character that could have made for a longer serialized story. We could have learned more about Daiki, like how he was in high school way sooner than at the end of the freaking story. That was not the kind of twist I wanted here. But there it was, like a footnote that really painted the whole story in a new light. Still don't like the part though.
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
Koyama never really got time to figure himself out with everything that happens to him in this story either. I can understand that the author just wanted to portray his frenzied, lustful fits of desire for what they are, but I think there was a missed opportunity for them to flesh out this character. However, there is one thing I must say about what Koyama did that you should never do. Do not ever use a shampoo bottle in the same fashion that Koyama did in the second installment. There is a reason why many props have a flared end or base, if you will, and I've seen enough reels or shorts from medical professionals giving testimonials as why this is a very bad idea.
So the baby died?
Yeah, the baby died. But look, first place.
Okay. Now, I think we can all agree that Nakayama was simply a plot device to further the conflict between the two main characters. So as far as I can tell, he's complete with his purpose in the story, and don't need to delve deep into his life story like we could have with the other characters. Let me know what you think about him in the comment section below, cause I got nothing on him as a character really. Though I do like how we get a good amount of character development with Daiki at the end when he realizes what he was doing and felt remorse that he never took Koyama's feelings into consideration on matters of play with each other. That showed me that he was just young and hasn't experienced the complexity of relationships like this before. I guess now is good as ever if you're going to learn a life lesson like that. Just wish he wasn't in high school for this story, and I hope for Koyama's sake he's being super close in age to him. Yeah, okay, let's move on.
Okay, let's get this show on the road. Cricket, get the bags. Let's move it, Heifer.
The art in this one-shot trilogy, wait, is it a one-shot if there's 3 installments? Well, anyways, it's pretty good for the most part. There are times where I did think that the anatomy was a bit off or superfluous, but that may be simply the art style of this doujin group. The contrast between Daiki and Koyama is one of the prominent features in this work, as it facilitates what the story wanted to tell. I am a huge sucker for stories that have 2 characters who wish to obtain the other's stature while feeling insecure about their own, as I just relate to it heavily, and I'm sure you can understand why.
I'm starting to notice that.
Of course, Koyama and Nakayama are the main feature of this story since they get way more detail than anyone else we see. Even the background characters don't get that much to work with. Of course, this plays into the spicy scenes with how each panel makes it flow from one point to the next, showcasing the skill and talent of the artists involved. At least this is on the tamer side of things when it comes to the kink content, but we do get a bit of a peek on the heavier stuff during the recap monologues of each character. Although, I do find it interesting how they drawn the body hair on the chest and abdomen, since it looks like there are clear borders of where the hair is able to grow and not to grow. It may be a hit or miss for many readers, but with less realism comes more style for the art. Whether you like that or not will ultimately be up to you.
Perfect.
Overall, overall, this is an interesting read for me, with how the story kind of bounces from one point to another and then collides them together to create an interesting point of conflict that resolves itself with time and reflection. The art style played into the story with how much contrast each character had with each other, while not going overboard in the subject matter that the story wanted to explore. So give this a read if you're interested.
Better go check it out.
And so he did.
And that is it. That is all for this lovely video. I certainly hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say in this one. This, again, was a very interesting read. Go check it out if you want to check it out. Of course, you guys know I can't link any of that stuff in the comment section or anything because YouTube gets mad at it. But yes, go ahead and check it out. This was really interesting overall. And of course, like the usual spiel, if you like what I did here, please do not hesitate to like this video, share this video about, and please leave a comment down in the comment section below. It would be really cool to hear what you guys have to say about it. And of course, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. That way you can keep up on everything I do. I also have a bunch of other socials that you can follow me on if you find that a lot easier to keep track of when I post videos, because it seems to work a lot better for a lot of other people for some reason. I don't know. YouTube is acting weird from time to time. And of course, if you wish to help me out any further, you do have the lovely opportunity to donate to me at Ko-Fi. As little as $1 would be a huge help for anything. I have considered making monthly subscription content. That way you guys could do that if you so choose this. I can make uncensored content, that way you guys can get it. I would also even have tiers that you can get it way earlier than anybody else. If that's something you're interested, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section below. That would be really helpful. I want to hear back from you guys, so that way I could make some considerations of doing things that way. But I have to keep a day job as well. But yep, that's pretty much all for my video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to hear from you guys, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.